What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to talk about winter riding or cold weather riding. Obviously winter depends on where you live, what winter is to you. Cold, the same thing. Everybody's level of cold is different, and I can tell you that just from the group of people that I ride with. But here in Northeast Ohio, I think we're particularly well suited to talk about winter and cold weather riding because we get a little bit of everything. If we start getting our weather coming from the north, that Canadian air blows over Lake Erie, we could get down into the single digits, even the negative numbers, Fahrenheit that is, and we could also get completely dumped on with snow. So we could have 2 feet of snow on the ground from one storm. And then also I'm going to do what I always do is just, give a little bit of my experience, and then hopefully that has some relevance to you. Anyways, I figured I'd start with clothing because I just walked in from a ride and I'm dressed for a ride where when I went out it was about 33 degrees, and then I got home a little after sunset, and when I looked at what my weather app said, it said it was 30 degrees out. Starting at the top, I am wearing a merino wool cap. It's a wool blend, but it's from 45 North. To me, this has become the most indispensable piece of cycling kit that I own in the winter. It is super thin, it has the brim, which I like, but being wool, you could wear it a bunch of times. It could get sweaty, it's not going to smell for a while. Wool just has that great property, but also it's thin, but it's still super warm, and it covers your ears when you're out riding, but then when you get in somewhere, you could look a little more normal by flipping it up like that. I think they are a little pricey. I believe it's like about $45, $50 maybe for these hats. I got it at my local bike shop. I actually had one I've been wearing almost nonstop for 2 winters, so I finally bought a second one to rotate it. The first one is still holding up totally great. This is what I use as a face mask, but for me it also works well to keep the neck warm if I need it for that. So this is just a cotton bandana. I actually don't own any neck gaiters, but there's great synthetic and merino wool ones as well. I'm more of a wool guy now, but either way would work, and I think a lot of people are going to want something here for their neck, and then that can also be pulled up over your face in very cold weather. Next thing I have on, this is a vest from Chrome, and this is new for me for this year. It's like a lightly insulated vest, and I'm really digging it. One of the nice things about buying like cycling specific stuff is they have really nice features for cycling. This has a zippered back pocket that's very big, so if you were wearing something over this or you need to carry more stuff, you could put it in the back pocket, and then the vest also folds up into that pocket. You have nice big front pockets here that you can put some stuff in. If you don't know Chrome, they make more of like a city commuter style clothing that I really like the aesthetic of because I am not a tights spandex type guy. Underneath that, I'm also wearing one of my most essential pieces of cycling gear for the winter, and I wear it in other seasons too, but it's a wind jacket. This one happens to be Rafa's wind jacket. I got this at a really big discount because it was a color they were going to no longer make. You don't need to go that spendy. This was at half price. This was still $95. These are very expensive, but for how much I wear it, like, 3 seasons out of the year, I think it's even at half price, and being expensive is still worth it. Just little nice touches again. Like this has this little button here, so when you do need to open it up to vent it, it could be flapping in the wind but not flying completely open, so it gives you that. Also like the vented armpits, and then you can't tell, but this green is actually reflective when you're out after dark, which is important this time of year. But wind jackets make all the difference. I mean, super thin, super packable, and then it's always what I'm wearing over something. Today, underneath this, I actually have a t-shirt on. This is something in normal times that I like to throw on, a cotton t-shirt, just because I like to look like a normal person when I stop in somewhere when I'm out riding. Just a thing. If you're totally comfortable walking in all your spandex and tights and clipping around in a bar, more power to you. That's just not my style. So, but yeah, cotton. Don't put cotton anywhere near your skin. This could even be too close on certain rides for me. Why did we all grow up wearing cotton everything? It's the worst, Anyways, underneath that, this is actually something that I got when I was starting to see if I was going to ride in the winter. I am not someone who's always done winter riding. First, I got into riding into the cold more and more, and I just didn't want to give up cycling, so started riding year round. And then after that, the next step was to ride when it was actually snowy and cold. But so this was an Amazon purchase. The brand is like Narragansett Trader or something, but it's a completely synthetic blend. It's like polyester, nylon, and a little bit of spandex. But this is the heaviest base layer up top I have, and I would usually only wear this when it's colder, and I would wear a double layer instead on a day like today. But I was actually perfectly comfortable with this on. It's nice, it goes kind of up around the neck, and it dries pretty quickly too, which is really important. One of the big keys for me with winter cycling gear is wearing the right amount of clothing. You know, you think you want to go out and be completely bundled up, but you're going to get moving, and then you're going to get hot and sweaty, and especially in normal years, if you're going to stop in somewhere for a coffee or a beer or for dinner or whatever it may be, once you get wet, that's the worst thing in the world. So I would rather go out and be cold for a little while and build up that body heat to a level where I'm comfortable. So yeah, that is what I got up top. Below, I am also wearing a pair of Rafa pants. These are the loop back trousers. Again, I scour websites for like at the end of season for deals. So I got these for also, I think was about half price, but was still almost $100. They're the only pair of cycling pants I have. Usually I just wear jeans or something like that, but depending on what your situation is, if you need waterproof pants, if you need windproof pants, I'm cool with these. I'm cool with jeans. These are nice because they're a little more stretchy. They have been treated with something that's, you know, a little bit water resistant, but you know, if it's really raining or anything, you're going to get wet. They're just good enough for, you know, snow if you're going to, you know, be able to brush it off. Then underneath that, I have a pair of tights that are fleece lined. They're by a company called Bayleaf. There's something, again, I got on Amazon before I knew I was going to really be into cold weather cycling. I'm way more into supporting your local bike shop and cycling companies, but they are so perfect for me that I've kept buying them. I have like 5-6 pairs of them now, and they're pretty much always what I wear in winter cycling. And if it wasn't quite as cold, I might wear my chrome shorts over them without pants over them. But yeah, they're just perfect for me. They have like nice little touches, like they're stretchy around the ankle, they're zippered down at the bottom to make them easier to get on and off. On my feet, on a day like today, about 30 degrees, I wore a pair of merino wool socks, and my shoes were my 510 boots. They're moderately insulated and they're waterproof to a point. Again, I wouldn't go walking in a creek with them on, but for snow and slush, they always do a really good job. When it gets a little colder, I would definitely throw a pair of liner socks under my merino socks, but we'll talk a little more about other clothes options in a minute.
So I figured I'd actually jump in right here to talk a little bit about some of the other clothing options. I was just on socks, so here's a couple cycling specific brands, ones I have. These ones are really nice because they're very long, so they'll actually insulate up under the knee too. When it comes to like regular merino socks, this is a brand I've really liked that looks like a Photoshop logo. I can't remember what it stands for, but they've worked really well. With wool socks, you'll really get what you pay for, which means they can be very pricey. I've seen some like these online, so I have a nicer pair than that, even that were 15 bucks for one pair. I bought this kind that were like 15 bucks for like 6, and then what happens is they just end up worn out in no time, and you've pretty much wasted your money even though they're wool. So when it's really cold, what I'll do then is I will layer with some thinner wool socks or some like real cycling socks. I only have a couple pairs of those. So I'll put those on at liners and then either wear the real long ones or my regular wool, merino wool socks over those. When it comes to gloves, my strategy is layering also. So these are Defeat wool gloves that are really, really nice, and I'll actually wear those down below 40, maybe even to 35 sometimes. Then if my hands start to get cold, I will just throw these right on top. A friend gave me these. They are some kind of cycling gloves, but you know, they work really well. But even before I had those, what I would do is over the wool gloves, just throw on any kind of work gloves or anything like that, and that would be good. When it's really cold then, over top of that, or in some combination, I'll throw on these lobster gloves. These are actually waterproof and windproof. They're really, really nice, and then keeping your fingers like this together makes all the difference in the world. Just looking at some of the other base layers that I usually wear, I have like 5 pairs of these t-shirts. These are by what is it? Merino 365. So you can look up that brand. They're online. They're not a cycling specific brand. But what I'll do is if it's super cold, I'll actually wear these underneath even that thicker base layer I have on, or I'll double those up themselves. And then what I almost always have in my bag when it's cold is just a few extra thin sweatshirts. This one is a hoodie. This one is just a cheap one from the Gap, but just something I keep in my bag, and I'll throw that directly over my windbreaker.
So if it's cold but dry, you could obviously ride any bike, your road bike, whatever will work. And that's how I started. When I was riding colder and colder into the season, there were nights I was going out 20 degrees, but I was on my vintage Peugeot because the roads had been clear or dry for days. Tonight I went out, I rode my Raleigh gravel bike. I was concerned that there might be a couple snowy spots on the bridges or in a few places. And then also I knew it'd be getting dark, so having the 42 mil tires just makes me a little more comfortable. So the gravel bike was the perfect thing to ride. Plus, typically when it's this cold, I'm not going out and like absolutely killing it. So to be on like a aero road bike isn't a big deal. And if you're newer to cycling and winter riding, that's probably the situation with you. The thing that really changed for me was, and I told this story in my last video if you didn't see it, is I tried to go out in the snow on my old mountain bike, and after a little while I couldn't keep the thing upright when I got to the bike trails where the snow was heavy. I ended up getting a pair of steel studded tires for it. Mine are Gravdell 45 Norths. There's a bunch of brands. The tires being pricey though, I was putting them on a bike that I've owned for almost 20 years. So no other expense. And when I put them on, it's turned it into a complete winter bike for me. I can ride in almost anything. If the snow's really deep, it might be tough going. What I've done in those situations, if it's a group ride, is ride in someone else's tire tracks. If you can afford the nice fat bike, really wide tire bike, that's awesome. You're gonna have a great time on it. But if you're just trying to get into it and you think you're gonna be riding in snow, slush, or ice, just whatever bike you have, getting the studded tires will make a big difference. I'm always amazed by them. And another thing I do when I'm riding with my studded tires on the bike and we change surfaces or snow thickness, or the conditions seem to change, I will like do a slight lockup, a quick lockup on the rear brake and just feel how much traction I'm getting. And for me, that's a nice way just to get like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Like just gives you that feel for what the road is actually like. But there haven't really been any conditions that have made me completely uncomfortable with the studded tires on an old mountain bike. A few people have asked me about fenders, and what I mostly use is I have a clip-on fender I've had forever, and I take it from bike to bike to bike. It clips on and it basically just keeps my back dry. It's nice because I am not actually a commuter. I don't have to ride my bike everywhere I'm going. So it does a good enough job for that. It's not going to keep the stuff coming off the front tire on you. If you are someone who is serious about, like, you think you really want to get into commuting and you're going to be riding in all conditions, putting more normal fenders, something like this on your bike. These are more clip-on and easily adjustable ones, so you could put them on for the winter or rain and take them off if you want. I find that we ride in some gnarly, very cold, snowy situations where I've got too much ice and snow build up, and then I find myself always fidgeting with these. And if it's going to be really cold, you're not going to be getting wet from the snow anyways. I prefer to ride without the fenders. I just put that clip-on one over the back tire, and that's good enough for me. A couple more things for your bike. Insulated water bottle. When I ride I actually don't have one, and when I ride in the extreme cold, my water freezes. Especially if, said pre-pandemic, when me and my friends would go out and get dinner and a beer, and come back out, water bottle is completely frozen. Another big deal for your bike in the winter is lights. And I don't just say that for the obvious reason that, it's getting dark earlier. I say it because I don't think that cars are really expecting to see us on the road nearly as much. There's not a lot, at least around here, there's not a lot of cyclists out in the winter. So for me, I use more than one light. I have a helmet now that has a light built into the back, but before I did, I used to strap a light up there. I liked getting one higher and then one on the seat post. If I'm going to be wearing a backpack or anything like that, I'll put a couple on there, but as many lights as possible. And in the winter, I actually ride with a headlight in the front and a separate flasher most of the time, which is something I don't bother doing in the summer, even though I ride after dark. So just things to think about is make sure you're lit up when you're out there. Again, reflective clothing is nice. Then one of the last considerations for the bike to me is bags. Bags are a big deal. You know, I almost always ride with bags because I'm usually carrying cameras and my toolkit and stuff like that. But especially in the winter is because if you're going to shed layers or want extra layers to put on, you need to consider that space. Here where I live, you know, especially in the fall and the spring, but even sometimes in the winter, if I leave before sunset, it could be 50 degrees, and if I'm coming home, it could be 30 degrees, and that's a completely different way to dress, and especially if that's changing more to like the 20 and 40 degree, you know, range. So extra space is always important, something to consider. So just to wrap this up with some general, you know, safety tips, always ride with what you feel comfortable with. Ride within your ability. You know, if you're gonna go out in the snow, like for a couple times, go and do it on a bike trail, go and do it somewhere safely or somewhere where you're comfortable and used to riding. Start off like that. Like I said, a quick brake test to see what kind of grip you're getting and stuff like that is always a great thing to do. If you're riding on bike trails like I was tonight, be very careful about like bridges and wooden boardwalks and stuff like that. Tonight I was totally fine on my normal gravel bike with my normal tires. I came to a couple wooden bridges that even when I tried to get off my bike, I almost fell over and slipped and fell down. So just be, you know, very careful of that. If you're gonna head out and ride in the snow and it's something you're not used to, I would say be aware that you're gonna use way more energy. Riding my mountain bike with its studded tires, if I just do like a 10 mile on our towpath around here, it feels like 20 miles to me. So if you're planning a loop that you normally do, I would definitely consider that it's gonna feel almost twice as hard, and it's just something to be aware of. To me, learning to ride in the winter in the snow is totally worth it. Like I said, it's not something I always did. It's something that I worked up to, and over time has refined the techniques and the gear and the clothing and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just so worth it when you get a new fresh snow and you go out the next day and you hit one of the bike paths. There's barely anyone else around. You get them back to yourself. You know, after this summer with the crowds everywhere wanting to be outside, it just makes it like such a nice experience, and it's totally worth it. Also, the views look different, the sight lines look different. It makes it a whole new world. So I hope some of this could be helpful. I hope some of you are considering riding in the winter or the cold and haven't. Really do. It's not nearly as bad as you think it is. I hate being cold. I don't go out and be cold. I go out and I be comfortable. So anyways, as always, let me know if you have any questions. Love to answer them, and I will see you in the next one.